AG-TIY RSDetect, a test-it-yourself kit for return stunting disease in sugarcane. Prepare yourself and the testing area as outlined in the hygiene and safety video. Place all samples in order in the middle of the front row of the sample rack. Place the negative control tube, orange lidded tube with green dot, at the right of the samples in the sample rack. Place the positive control tube, orange lidded tube with red dot, at the left of the samples in the sample rack. Mix all the tubes and then allow them to stand for 15 minutes. The order of pipetting should generally be from clean samples that have no or few bacteria to dirty samples that contain lots of bacteria. Hence, the negative control tubes, shown by the green dots, should be the first handled at each step, and the positive control tubes, shown by the red dots, should be the last at each step. In the meanwhile, turn on the heat block and check it is set to 67 degrees Celsius for both the block and the lid. Refer to the instruction manual for the heat block on how to set the temperatures if needed. Complete the date of testing, the date of manufacture, DOM, and the sample order table on the results sheet. If you are testing less than 6 samples, make sure to note which tubes will be empty on the results sheet. Check that all the tubes are in the same order as the table. Remove all of the reagent packets from the fridge and the freezer, reagent 1, reagent 2, and the reaction mix packets. Leave the reaction mix packet closed on the bench and allow it to come up to room temperature before opening it later in this procedure. Remove the reagent tubes 1 and 2 from their packets and place them into the reagent rack as shown here, or can be seen in the written instructions. Arrange the control reagents in the same order, green dot on the right and red dot on the left. You will need to shake all of the tubes firmly to get the liquid to sit at the bottom of the tubes. Once the 15-minute wait period has ended, begin to process the samples. Work from right to left. Using the micropipette, remove 20 microliters from the first sample tube. Now place the sample tube into the next position at the back of the rack so you know you have taken this sample. Add the 20 microliters of sample into the first tube containing reagent 1. Pipette gently up and down 4 times to mix. Close the lid and mix again by gently flicking the bottom of the tube with a finger. Place this reagent tube 1 space back in the reagent rack so you know which tube has been processed. Repeat this process for each sample. After all of the samples have been dispensed, close all of the sample tube lids fully and put the sample rack to one side. Again, work from right to left. Pipette 20 microliters of the sample reagent 1 mix and place this tube again 1 space back in the reagent rack. Add the 20 microliters of the sample reagent mix into a reagent 2 tube. Pipette gently up and down 4 times to mix. Close the lid and mix by gently flicking bottom of the tube with a finger. Place this reagent tube 1 space back in the reagent rack so you know which tube has been processed. Repeat this process for each sample. Now check that the temperature of the heat block has reached 67 degrees Celsius. Position the test rack next to the reagent rack. Open the packet of freeze-dried reaction mix tubes and place the strip of tubes into the test rack. Carefully close any lids that may have popped open without touching the internal parts. Check that the green dot is on the right and the red dot is on the left. Again, work from right to left. Pipette 20 microliters of the first sample reagent 2 mix and place this tube again one space back in the reagent rack so you know which tube has been processed. Add the 20 microliters of the sample reagent 2 mix to the first reaction tube. In this instance, do not mix using the micropipette. Repeat this process for each sample. After all of the sample reagent 2 mixes have been added to the respective reaction tubes, check all of the reaction tube lids are firmly closed and then flick the bottom of the strip gently to mix. Leave the tubes to sit for 3 minutes, flicking gently every minute. At the end of the 3 minutes, the pink-red colour should be evenly distributed. Upend the strip sharply 5 times to mix in a different way. Following this, ensure all the liquid has returned to the bottom of the tubes by shaking it down sharply several times. Now, place the tubes into the heat block at 67 degrees Celsius and start a timer for 40 minutes. At the end of the 40-minute incubation period, open the lid of the heat block carefully and check that all tube lids are firmly closed. It is very important that these tubes are not opened at any time, as the levels of DNA will have increased substantially and can be a source of contamination to the surrounding area and equipment. This can affect future test results. If any reaction tubes do pop open, close immediately, change gloves, and follow the decontamination protocol as outlined in the written instructions. Remove the strip of tubes from the heat block and place on a white background to view the colour results. Check the negative control tube has remained a pink-red colour. If the negative control has changed to a yellow or orange colour, then the results are compromised, possibly by cross-contamination. Either way, record the result on the results sheet. In the case of compromised results, refer to the written instructions for the best course of action. Check the positive control tube has changed to a yellow colour. If the positive control has not changed to yellow, then the results are also compromised, as this result suggests that the reagents have not worked. Either way, record the result on the results sheet and consult the detailed written instructions if needed. Then record the results for each sample. Pink-red tubes are negative and any yellow tubes are positive. If any sample is orange and the controls have responded as expected, then the sample should be treated as a possible weak positive result and can be sent to Agatal for confirmation if required.